everyone deserves a life free of violence, but according to the CDC, 1 in 4 women and 1 in 7 men will experience physical violence by their intimate partner at some point in their life. And during the pandemic, there's been an increase in domestic violence cases. And today, in honor of Domestic Violence Awareness Month, we will continue to discuss some of the programs, that are being offered by the nation's leading victim service agency, Safe Horizon. And joining us to tell us more, we welcome Senior Director of the Crime Victim Assistance Program, Kimberlina Kavern. Hello and welcome.
Hi, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for being here with us today.
For having me.
So just share a little bit about the services that Safe Horizon offers, because while I introduced it as a domestic violence awareness program, you offer a lot more than just domestic violence, rather more for individuals who are in you explain it. You explain it, because I'm getting tongue twisted here because I'm familiar with it as a domestic violence awareness agency, but it's more than that.
It is. So we're often thought of as a domestic violence agency, but Safe Horizon is actually the largest victim services agency in the country. So we offer services to victims of all types of crime. So in addition to our domestic violence services, we run an outreach program for at-risk homeless youth. We work with victims of rape and sexual assault. We provide services to victims of child abuse through our child advocacy centers. We provide services to non-domestic crime, so stranger assault, etc. And we provide services to families of homicide victims.
So can you also identify what this Crime Victim Assistance Program is that lives within Safe Horizon? Because there's obviously, you just named a lot of programs, but I know you work specifically in the specialized area. Can you elaborate on that further?
Sure. So we have a lot of different programs under the umbrella of Safe Horizon, but I work with our Crime Victim Assistance Program, which places both a domestic violence advocate and a general crime victim advocate in every precinct in New York City. So we partner with the police department and reach out to victims who have filed police reports.
So, today, this month is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. This is something that is haunting our city, our state, our mere existence. What do you think, or what do you suggest people should do to kind of just be a contribution to ending this disease of domestic violence, this psychological disease of abuse, right? There's the physical component, but then there's the psychological component. And it's wonderful that we have programs and or agencies such as Safe Horizon, but just coming from an expert's perspective, what could people do to just kind of figure out another way of communicating?
So I think there's a lot of complicated answers to that question. What we want victims to know is that abuse, to your point, takes many different forms. It does not have to be physical to be domestic violence. You can be unsafe physically or emotionally or psychologically or financially. And we provide services to anyone who self-identifies as a victim, men or women. Our services are free and confidential, and we're here to partner with victims to help create a plan that works for them. So we're not looking to pressure victims into leaving or calling the police. We want to really meet survivors where they are. The other thing that I would say is, in my opinion, to really end domestic violence, we need to hold people who cause harm accountable for their behavior and stop putting all of the responsibility on victims to do that. So that means not only responses by the police and the criminal justice system, but responses within communities, within churches, within within neighborhoods, to be able to go to people who are causing harm and say that this behavior is not going to be tolerated, and that we're going to really provide, holistic support to victims so that they don't feel alone and isolated.
And so based on this particular situation we're in right now, the pandemic, there's been an increase, where does it end? Right? I mean, you're saying, yes, it takes a village, but if somebody's isolated in a space with someone, how does one go about transforming that situation?
Yep. So again, we're going to meet survivors where they are. So some people might be in situations where they can't access services in the same way, or maybe they're not looking to leave, or there's no way to safely leave. And we want to help talk them through whatever their individual situation is. We also have been forced to be very creative in the way that we're providing services. And we've seen that survivors are being very creative in the way they access services. So for instance, we have a safe chat feature on our website. So you might not be in a situation where you can call us for services, but maybe you're able to safely chat through your phone with an advocate at Safe Horizon. Maybe you are creating different safety alerts with neighbors or people that are closer to you so that you don't feel so isolated. And we have transitioned. We still provide some in-person services. Our hotline is available. Domestic violence shelter is available. And any services that aren't in person are remote. So every program at Safe Horizon is still available and providing services and support.
So do you feel that a person can actually save themselves from getting to that place of physical violence? Is there means of indicating that you're in an abusive relationship prior to it escalating to that form of abuse?
I think that, one thing that I think we have to really recognize is that many survivors in domestic violence situations love the person who's causing them harm. They've built a life with the person that's causing them harm. The person who causes harm is not only an abusive person, but is often, three-dimensional. So these situations are very complicated. Many survivors don't wish to leave abusive situations. They just want their abusive partner to stop being abusive. But when I think of warning signs, the two things that I sort of think of are someone who repeatedly dismisses your boundaries. So, there's no one warning signal that someone is abusive, and different people can tolerate different behaviors in their relationships. But if you are repeatedly saying to someone, these things are unacceptable in an intimate relationship, and that person is repeatedly ignoring that, that's a warning sign to me that things might escalate. We also know that domestic violence increases over time. So someone is not usually abusive on the first date. That increases
Right.
for weeks or months or years. And the other thing I think is, domestic violence is a pattern of power and control. So, there are relationships that are sort of mutually unhealthy where people argue a lot. Domestic violence is really about one person's life getting bigger by making another person's life smaller. So isolating them, taking away their decision-making power, not respecting their boundaries. So I think if you start to sense that those things are happening in your relationship, those might be warning signs that the relationship is going to become more abusive.
So based on everything you just shared, before we go, does Safe Horizon offer therapy, like psychotherapy, counseling, or any of those type of services? And if they do, like, what does one need to qualify to be serviced in that manner?
So for any of our services, you need to identify as a victim of a crime. That's the only requirement on our end. You don't need to have filed a police report or reported to anyone. And we provide counseling in a number of different ways. So we might provide psychoeducational counseling in our community programs. Many of our programs provide groups, some, electronically now, because of the pandemic, but generally in person. And we also have our counseling center that provides therapeutic counseling services to survivors of abuse.
Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing all of your knowledge, well, the most that you can within the period of time we've had together. Thank you for taking the time to be with us, Kimberlina Kavern. Is there any last words you want to leave our viewers with?
No, just thank you so much for having me, and please know that our services are available and you can always reach out for help.
Wonderful. Thank you. Once again, Senior Director of Crime Victims Assistance Program at Safe Horizon, Kim Kavern. And you guys, if you or someone you know is in need of assistance, you can always call the Domestic Violence Hotline 24/7 at 1-800-621-HOPE. And for more on Safe Horizon, visit safehorizon.org. All right, we have to take a quick break, but when we return, we'll hear about a fitness charity event for children's cancer research. Don't go anywhere.